Welcome back to Straight Facts, joined by LB. We've got Dan Potts, and we're joined this week by Deluded Gooner. How are we all, gentlemen? We well?
Good, man.
Yeah, man. All good, bro. Big up the panel, innit? Big up the chat.
Yeah, man. Likewise, man. Big up to the panel. Look, football aside, I'm good, man. Football aside, I'm good.
It's mad that Man United fans are the happiest out of everybody on the panel at the moment. It's
well, you did lose, man. You got a draw. You got a brilliant draw at Old Trafford. You know, brilliant draw. Do you know what I mean? So well played. Like,
it's not even the draw. I was just happy that we had a midfield that didn't have a big hole in it. You know, we've got Amorim coming. He's playing tonight against Man City. It's just, I feel like the future is bright for my football club. We're going in the right direction. I'm really happy. More than you believe. More than you believe.
I did watch the game and I wondered if it was Salford versus Dagenham or Man United versus Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? It's that bad, bro. Jeez, the quality is.
People said it was bad. What did you think was bad about? Generally, what do you think was bad about the game?
General lack of quality everywhere across the field was poor, wasn't it? I look at Garnacho, just like meh, and like some of the. I mean, even Cole Palmer was like invisible. Let's be real, he definitely wasn't cold. That's for sure. And I just thought it was poor quality throughout. It was boring. It was a snooze fest. I thought Caicedo and Lavia were by far two of the better players. Everyone else was just a bit meh. But look, I was sit there like trying to drown my sorrows after a poor performance from us. So maybe I saw it differently to everyone else. But I didn't look at the much quality on the pitch, if I'm honest.
No, I hear it. Listen, up front, Man United were awful. I thought the rest of the pitch we were fine. We created loads of chances against Chelsea. We stopped one of the best attacks in the league. Yeah, I don't know. I was. Generally, it is. We've been so bad.
That's how far you've dropped. That is how bad
you are. It's true, but it's true. Like, people keep saying to me, "I tell you, got to have higher standards." I'm like, I do. But I also like Man United are that fat guy. You know, he's 30 stone. He's just joined the gym. I'm not expecting him to look like peak Schwarzenegger in a week. So but you say well done to him. He has his first week. He's not had any donuts. He's been on the treadmill. He's lifted a few weights. You say well done. That's where we are. We're that guy right now. So yeah, I'm in a good space. We've got Amorim coming. I can't wait. And I wanted to start actually with that game that kicks off tonight. LB, 2 defeats in a week since the last time we spoke. Spurs knocked you out the cup. Yeah. Bournemouth dunked on you at the weekend. Yeah. Do you think what's going on with City at the minute? Is it just a bad patch, or are the injuries coming home to roost?
I wouldn't read too much into the Spurs game because we all knew he was losing that game anyway. Because Pep basically said like he ain't taking that game seriously. But the Bournemouth game, that result has been coming for a long time. Anyone that's watched City this season will know that like we've been lucky in a lot of matches. If you think back to the Fulham game, we were lucky there. Brentford, we were lucky there. Arsenal, we scored in the last second. Wolves, we scored in the last second. So ultimately, I've been saying that these performances have not been sustainable. They're not sustainable performances. And in the end, it was Bournemouth that got the result. But there was teams in the past that could have got a result. Bournemouth played us off the park for 80 minutes. And on another day, they could have scored 3 or 4 goals, and maybe they should have. Because in the end, we could have snatched a draw with the chances we had towards the end of the game. So they was probably a little bit fortunate that City's finishing wasn't great, but same as us, because we could have been at the end of a proper embarrassing result. Listen, at the end of the day, we are where we are. Our performances have to improve. We keep playing like we have been playing. We'll get more drop points. We'll lose more games. We'll draw games, because in the end, I think performances dictate the long-term results. You might get away with something short-term if you ain't playing good, but long-term, it's not going to happen. You know, you can't keep conning your way through the game. So I'm not too bothered about the injuries because I'm not using that as an excuse. We had a team out on the pitch that was more than capable of getting a result against Bournemouth, and the fact that we actually got outplayed. I have to take me out off to Bournemouth. They cooked us, man. They absolutely cooked us. So yeah, it is what it is. I ain't looking particularly forward to tonight. I'm not particularly confident about tonight. But listen, sometimes when you're playing badly, being in a different competition can actually be pretty decent, innit? You know what I'm saying? So like, it can take the pressure off. So maybe that's what we need, a bit of a Champions League game. But I ain't particularly confident about tonight's game now.
Why are you so bad defensively at the moment? Like, why are you so bad defensively, Man City? What's happening there, man?
Well, it depends who you speak to. Some people actually think it's not even the defense; it's the midfield, and I hear it. I hear what people are saying because our midfield, is so slow. Yeah, our midfield three is 95 years old combined, bro. Yeah, and they just don't have the legs. So because they don't have the legs, they ain't providing any protection. Any protection. Like, you got Rice in front of you, yeah? We had Rodri. These guys lock up the midfield. So because we don't have any energy in the midfield because they're all old, they're all good players, yeah? But as a collective, they're not offering enough protection. So our back three, because it is basically a back three because Gvardiol's all the way up the pitch because that's where he's asked to play. They're just getting exposed, bro. And I think, listen, our defenders could do a little bit better, but I do think that they're being hung out to dry. On top of that, you've got Kyle Walker in there who hasn't played consistently well now for the last 18 months. Yeah, he's not looking particularly great. I just think it's a combination of things, bro. I really, really do. I said when Rodri got injured, I think our season will depend on what we do in the January transfer window. Yeah, I need us to go and get Zubimendi, man. If we go and get Zubimendi, we've been linked with him today, actually, for the first time. If we go and get him, I think we'll be fine. But this midfield three, yeah, it's just too slow. It's far too slow. I wanted Pep to play an academy player, man. You know, for a bit of energy in that midfield. But he's still playing Gundogan, Kovacic, and Bernardo, man.
Do you think potentially bringing back Silky Ilky is going to end up being a mistake? Should you have gone and bought someone younger, bit more energy, bit more legs?
I don't think it'll be a mistake. It's what the problem is, yeah, we brought this guy in to play like what, 25, 30 games? And then Rodri got an ACL and all of a sudden he's played every game of the season. He's 33, 34 years old. Yeah, this ain't right. You know what I'm saying? So he's not played well since he's come back. I have to just say it as it is. He's not played well, but this wasn't. We didn't buy him for this. Now we should have bought someone proper, like 100%. We should have brought like a proper player. But listen, they obviously didn't see anyone on the market that they felt was right. Which, you know, whatever your opinion is on that. But we're not using him in the way that we was meant to use him. We're not using Kovacic in the way that he's meant to be. When we bought him from Chelsea last year. You know what I mean? Again, it was supposed to be a squad rotation player. Turned out to play nearly every game. Same this year. So we're sort of winging it by playing players that are not meant to be playing game in, game out, but they are playing game in, game out because of lack of transfer business, injuries or whatever. But listen, at the end of the day, there's no excuses, man. You know what I'm saying? We're not playing good and that has to improve. And listen, I'm telling you now, if we don't improve our performances, we'll be out of this title race by the end of November. Because I don't know if you've seen our fixtures after the international break, but it is grim, bro. Yeah, we're playing everyone now. We're playing everyone after this international break. We've got Brighton on Saturday. Yeah, away. That's going to be tough. Yeah, we play badly. We could get beat there. And then we've got Spurs, Villa, Liverpool. You've got United, which is obviously a derby match. Anything can happen there. So we need to fix up quickly. We really, really do, especially with Liverpool. Liverpool just seem like they're just getting results. So listen, I've got to back my team. I've got to back my manager to turn this around, but they need to start now. They need to turn this around now because like we're in it now. We're in the thick of it, man. Big time.
What about your attack? And what I mean by that is we don't know how good Haaland is. But so far this season, you'd probably say barring Man United, when it comes to putting the ball in the back of the net, Doku, Savio, Grealish, these guys, are they really up to the standard? Because it can't all be on Haaland to score every week. I mean, they just don't score goals. What they have between them?
I'm trying to explain this to people, though, man. Yeah, we've got bare techie ballers in our team, right? None of them score goals. Like we've gone from a winger options, yeah, of Sane, Sterling, and Mahrez, right? Who all used to get G&A. All used to get goals and assists. And people will say it's not about G&A. G&A is irrelevant. Well, that is, you know, sometimes that's true to it, but at the same time, you do need players to score. And our team is heavily reliant on Haaland to score. And if he doesn't score, who are you backing to score goals in that team? Do you know what I mean? There's not many people in there to score. And this is why I want Nunes to play. Because Nunes, yeah, he's actually someone who actually puts the ball in the back of the net. He's our third joint. He's not third. He's our second joint highest goal contributor this season. I mean, if you look at if you got Haaland number one on the G&A, yeah. Number two is joint between four players: Kovacic, Stones, Gvardiol, and Nunes. Stones is a centre back which is injury prone. He's not played that much this year. Gvardiol's a left back. Yeah, Nunes has only started playing 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and Kovacic, bro, check his stats out, man. In his career, this guy's never scored more than 5 goals in a season. And he's our second. So we do have a problem. And I think that needs to be rectified in the
Right,
summer.
let's talk on Grealish and Doku, man, because I know that they've got injury problems at the moment, or Man City have actually got injury problems for the whole of their squad at the moment, right? But wasn't it you? Was it someone else told me that Grealish hasn't scored since December 2023?
Yeah, he's not scored since December 2023.
What is going on there? That is absolutely shambolic, man. For £100 million player to not have got scored since 2023, but almost in 2025. Like this is madness, man.
In this Man City team as well. We're not talking about a rubbish team. It's one of the great. It's probably in the top 3 or 4 English sides in history, and 1 goal since December.
Yeah,
Savio's not scored. Doku doesn't score.
I think Savio. I think I think he's just settling. I think from what I've seen of him so far this year, I think he will add goals to his game. Doku is never going to get over 10 goals, I don't think. And the thing is with Grealish, it's that record is shambolic. Yeah, and I know he's had injuries. He's not played that much since December or whatever, but that is still a poor record. He's never really scored goals. Even if you look at his record at Villa, it was never great. But that's not a problem. But then your other player, i.e. Doku, he needs to be able to score goals. You need to, if you're going to have a player like a Grealish, you need to have another player that can contribute to the getting goals. And we don't. This is what I'm saying. We have a lot of players in our team that are very good at what they do. Yeah, very, very good at what they do. You have like Grealish. Yeah, listen, it's annoying that he doesn't score, but he does bring stuff to your game. I'm saying this at the Bernabeu. Yeah, I want Grealish on the pitch. Yeah, debate me all you want. I want Grealish on the pitch at the Bernabeu, right? But then you need other players to be able to score. Kovacic don't score. Gundogan don't really score goals. Bernardo Silva don't really score goals. Yeah, Savinho only got 9 at Girona last year. Now, I'm not slagging these players off, far from it. But I'm saying you've got to have a blend, haven't you? You've got to have a nice mix.
Mate,
and I don't think we have a nice mix.
You're spot on. Again, we were having this conversation yesterday on the Top 6 show, and people pick and choose when goals and assists matter. And I think for attacking football players, yes, passing the eye test is great. Yes, having technical ability is very important. But in the cold, hard light of day, you would take someone you would take Mo Salah over Jack Grealish, even though on the eye, Jack Grealish looks better. Because Mo Salah delivers. He puts that ball in the back of the net. And what City are missing right now...
wins games, man.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's what City are missing in their attack, barring Haaland, is there's no moments players. There's not enough players in your team that will have that moment of brilliance to knit the system and the possession and the sort of the dominance you have in most of your games. There's nobody kind of knitting that together with a little moment of brilliance. And I think having Phil Foden having an absolute shocker of a season, and again, he's getting a lot of stick for it. People are going well over the top, talking about how it undermines his entire career, shows he's this, shows he's that. With him having a bad season as well, I think that and the midfield, it's why you guys look a little bit human this year. And he's still brilliant, but you just look a little bit more human now. How do you see it, DG? Do you, sort of City's problems? Is it midfield, attack, a combination?
It's a combination of things, man. Obviously, nothing's going right. I mean, when you're a team like City, you don't get a couple of wins or you look a bit shaky. People always going to nitpick. I do agree with LB, and I feel a bit about how he feels with Arsenal in that sometimes we've, maybe not so much the last 3 games, but we've went and got results and it's kind of papered over the ultimately the performance. And I just think it's maybe, I wouldn't say City's been found out, but maybe there's an element of overcoaching. Maybe there's something the individual players got to do, because as LB is saying, they're all good players, but to go to that next level, goals win games, and probably Haaland was masking a lot of these things. I agree with the Grealish comments in that he does pass the eye test, he does do things away from scoring goals, but ultimately that's what pays the bills, that's what wins you titles, really. So yeah, City gonna have to get back together, Terry, man.
Yeah, look, I just don't see at the moment Manchester City like that. It's like absolute crisis, son. I know LB's talked about
exactly
crisis. I get that. I've seen this City team before, man, and people doubt it. They've not got Mahrez, they've not got Gundogan, they still won the league. Sterling, Jesus, and Zinchenko have all gone, they still won the league. And I just feel like the way teams around everybody's playing at the moment, this could quite easily still be a Manchester City Premier League title that they win, and I still believe they'll win it, right?
They're still going to go on a run, man.
They will. And look at what Manchester City have done. They've only just started losing. They were talking about being this amount of games unbeaten. At home, they were amazing amount of games unbeaten. So I don't think it is anywhere near crisis. I will say, though, that I would have concerns in that attack outside of Haaland. And it is having a focal point. Everybody wants Haaland in their team. But I look at Grealish, I don't see goals. Doku, I'm sorry. I've mentioned players like Saint Maximan and Adama Traore before. That's all I see with Doku. I don't see any output.
Decision making ain't there.
Yeah, he's got creativity in terms of like he can flare and create. And
you wouldn't want to play against him.
Plays, but come on, man. Like I wouldn't want to come up against him as a right back because he'll turn me in and out like a pretzel, right? But actually, would he get anywhere? There would actually be any output? And that's where I'm at with people.
That's why we're liking Nunes, bro, on the left wing, because I think Nunes is like
he's been your best one. He should play now. He should play left now.
Bro, facts. I think Nunes is like a blend of Grealish and Doku in the sense that Nunes is doing this Grealish thing where he can like relieve the pressure, hold the ball up, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but he also can take a man on. Obviously, not as good as Doku, but he can take a man on. But he's also got pretty decent end products. I mean, it's proven. He's got a GA every 65 minutes for City this season. He's our second most goal contributor in the team. He's hardly played Nunes. So for me, I'm looking at Nunes on that left wing, and the other two lads are just going to have to fight it out between them. But I still think we'll win the league because ultimately, yeah, we've got De Bruyne coming back. He's back now. I wouldn't play him tonight, personally. I wouldn't play him in any of the league phase games now. I just play in Premier League. But he's back. And as I said, when Rodri got injured, yeah, if we can go out in January and get a player in like a Zubimendi, yeah, which hopefully we do because he is unbelievable, I think we'll be fine. But we have to sign somebody in January. We do. We have to sign. So get me to January, get me within 6-7 points, whoever's top. If you get me Zubimendi, I think we'll do it, man. I think we'll do it. I think we'll win it. I still think we'll win it anyway, but like there are concerns.
As Arsenal fans, because City are not at their best, yes, there's a gap between you and the top. Do you feel that the league title race is still on? I mean, a lot of gooners yesterday that we had on were saying that it's too early to say that you're out of the title race yet. How do you see it, DG? Is it still open because City are not at their scintillating best, or do you feel like Arsenal shouldn't be even thinking about the league title right now?
I mean, you look at the table right now, no one's run away with it, innit? There's different sentiments you could say, LB's not really, it's not that he's negative about City, but it's not great. I feel a similar way about Arsenal. Liverpool are flying. Yeah, they lost to Forest, but they're getting results, big up Jurgen Klopp, but it's like Arne Slot's always been there. So no one's kind of ran away with it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to me as an Arsenal fan what City do, because I know they're going to go on a run. It doesn't really matter what Liverpool do. It's what we do. They can drop as many points in the world as they want. We need to get our act together. So it's still open, but unfortunately, my club like to shoot themselves in the foot, and I think some of this has been coming off the back of what we did in the transfer window, and some of it has been, as much as I like Arteta because of how you set up the team, yes, there's been injuries and key players missing, but for instance with Martin Odegaard not being there, yes, he's a creative linchpin, but if one man is the single point of you creating and stuff, you're in issues. So this is why we're in this, man. We have to fight out of it. Mathematically, it's still possible, but we need to get our act together and quickly, because, again, this is where I look at Arsenal and I look at, again, you can't win them all, but I look at maybe if you beat City, maybe if you got something against Brighton, potentially if you held on to the lead against Liverpool, would we start to pull away? Don't know, man. But, yeah, we need to get our act together, bro.
I think all three teams, are vulnerable to certain degrees. I think all three of us need to do business in January. I think all three of us have to do to sign players. I only really need one or two. I could do with this backup striker, to be fair. I think Arsenal could do with a couple spread around or whatever. And Liverpool, for me, just need to bolster that midfield. But, it's whoever's going to be bravest in January. None of us really spent that much. Liverpool spent 10 million. We spent 25. Arsenal spent, 70? Do you know what I mean? Even 70 mils, not really that much for a team like Arsenal. So it's not like all three of us I've just spent 200 million in the summer and they kind of like, we can't really sign anyone in January. We've not got the money. Like, there are no excuses for all three clubs. Yeah, there's zero excuses for all three clubs. And for me, I think this league could come down to who is the most ambitious club in January. For me, I only really need two players. Get me Zubimendi at 50 mil release clause. Get me a backup striker at 20 million. And I think that'll be enough. The other two teams, you have to ask their fans, but let's see who wants it, man. I always go back to 2 years ago when Arsenal was 7 or 8 points ahead of Manchester City in going into that January transfer window, and they bought Trossard and Jorginho. And I thought, yeah, you've not done enough there. You've not been ambitious enough there. Let's see if they'll make the same mistake again. Because they didn't spend a lot. Liverpool spent 10 mil. So let's see what happens, man. But I think it's going to come down to January, whoever wants it most. And there are no excuses. There are no excuses for any of the clubs not to spend money, man.
I think we
Do
need to
any
go
of-
back to basics on a transfer on a technical front as well, man. Because like it's not that we've been found out, but I think I'm sure we'll get into it. But the Newcastle game, we're just going through the motions, man. So I think as much as it's about, I'm with you with we need to do something in January. Mikel Arteta has to really fix up his plans on the training ground, or it don't matter who we're saying, we're going to be in issues.
Yeah, I agree. I said this for me. You're on Arsenal, yeah. I think that like Arteta. I always think like the thing that scared me about Arsenal 2 years ago was how quickly they played football. And now I look at them, I'm thinking, still a good team, obviously, but like you've almost took a little bit of that fear factor away from
We've
the
gone the
team.
other way, man. We're far
You've
too,
gone
and I get
I
it.
think he's done that, bro,
Go on.
because he's had PTSD from what happened at the West Ham game and that Liverpool game. When
I'm with you with that. I'm with you with that, and I think he's
genuinely
gone the
think
other way. He's
that
thinking
lives in
too
his
much
head rent-free,
defensively,
man.
man.
And he's like, yo, no, I'm gonna just go defensive mode. But I don't think that's what made Arsenal great. And I really don't. And you think about it last year, yeah. First half of the season, he kind of played this way. Maybe not to the extreme, but he kind of played a reserve. But everyone kept on saying, oh, well, he's just doing it to
Yeah, and
save
then when
energy or
January
whatever,
came,
which I think is a load of BS because then you end up putting so much more energy into the game because you're drawing with 10 minutes to go and that takes mental fatigue, right? And then he sort of like let the players off the leashes a little bit in the second half of the season when you remember when you went through that run and you were just smacking everyone. I was like, yo, this is the Arsenal, man. Whereas now I'm watching Arsenal and you become what everyone says about City. You become dull to watch, slow, predictable, relying on set pieces. You're still a great team. I just think Arsenal, should go back to basics, go back to what made them really good initially, which is get the ball forward, be a bit more, quicker with the ball and pass the move rather than this sort of staleness to it. This is up to him, innit? But I just think like when I watch Arsenal now, I don't think they're as scary as they were a couple of years ago.
We've gone the other way, man. We're focusing too much defensively. And again, maybe not so much now, but I think there is a correlation with how much we improve defensively and us going up the table. But whatever way you shape it, as much as you think about the opposition, kind of on brand with what everyone's saying, goals win games. You've got to score goals. You've got to create. Now, on occasion, we've created minimal chances at times. And obviously, Kai Havertz or someone's put the ball in the back of the net. But I don't think it's a sustainable way to play football. I think the way Mikel Arteta has built this midfield, or what we're seeing on a consistent basis, I don't think it's what we want to see. We're not controlling games. Obviously, when you've dropped off a cliff defensively and you're not firing on all cylinders in the final third, you're not keeping balls at the back of your net. You're not putting them in the back of your opponents. It doesn't smell for good, for good reading, does it? And this is why, another reason as to why I think we're in issues now. I'm not necessarily criticizing it, even though I don't want to see it. But you could argue Thomas Partey has been our best central midfielder. You've shipped him over to right back. Obviously, Odegaard's come out this side, and you've got Moreno and Rice, who really and truly their skills are not really breaking lines and stuff like that. Suddenly, the whole team's dropping deep, and we're self-inflicting issues on top of the obvious, man. So I think you're right, man. It's jarring.
Let's be real, right? Arsenal have regressed, man. And
100%.
I'll tell you why.
Stagnated.
Yeah? The minute that window shut, I knew we weren't serious to win the league. The minute that window shut and we had Raheem Sterling coming in on deadline day as our big marquee signing, and Neto as the keeper. And I said when we signed Calafiori and Marino, it doesn't take us to the next level, but it just gives us more potential upgrades on the likes of Zinchenko at left back, and obviously El Neni being replaced by Marino. Is
more bodies out there, might trust.
Facts. So then I look at the ownership and the board and think, have you done enough, or have you shown a lack of ambition again? And it is the latter. They've shown a lack of ambition again. LB sitting there as a Man City fan going, oh, thank God for that. Arsenal aren't serious. That shouldn't be happening. LB should be thinking, oh my God, come on then, guys, like keep up, because Arsenal are signing these XYZ. But he's not. He's sitting chilling, right? Then you look at the manager. The manager has definitely taken us back this season. If you look at what he has brought into the side now, there's some quality players, don't get me wrong. The problem we've got is, right, we have got and we have gone for tall, commanding players with a presence. And that is affecting us creativity.
NBA, like Moreno said.
Yeah, so Odegaard's out at the moment. I get that. That is definitely a problem because he's one of our most creative players, right? But you look at the towering over in the tunnel and you think, yeah, that's good. But that has definitely gone a bit too far now, because what that does, you definitely don't have the mobile or the mobility and the flair and the tenacity.
Or the guy.
You're looking at Saka or Martinelli, and that's kind of it. Because I've got Havertz, I've got Ben White, I've got Rice, I've got Kivior when he plays, we've got Gabriel, we've got Saliba, the absolute man mountains, and we get that, right? We get that. But right now, there's no creativity in that side whatsoever. And without Saka in the side, we're struggling. we're relying on set pieces, and we're actually getting to a stage where it's like everybody get in there. Marino, get in there. You can head it. Gabriel, you can head it. Salit, that should be a part of your game, not
Sunday
your game
league
plan
setting.
every game. Yeah, that should not be your game plan every single week. That just keep the ball, try and be resolute, and we will win a header and a set piece. And people didn't like it when they were saying Tony Pulis ball and set piece FC and all that. And I was thinking, yeah, that's not how I want to play, but they're kind of right. And I said, and I remember being on Strohs with yourself, Terry, LB, my channel, saying this won't continue. We'll be fine because we've got Leicester coming up, Bournemouth coming up, etc. It ain't going to continue, but it kind of has. This season, I can think of 45 minutes against PSG where we played well. Other than that, I walked off thinking, I'll take the result, but we need to improve here, man. I need to see much more creativity.
Facts.
Now, hopefully, there's some people that are saying Odegaard's back now, it's going to change. It ain't going to. You don't just slot Odegaard back in.
One player don't change our fortunes.
We're not a one-man team. We're not a one-man team. So why
what happens when he's off it?
Now he's back. What happens when he's off it? DG, what happens when he goes out? When, like I said,
exactly. We're back in square one. It's a basic way of looking at stuff, man. There should be creativity all over the side, man, really. And we haven't got that. We haven't got that. I think it's very naive if people expect, of course, Martin Odegaard back in the team, we're creating a lot more. But what happens when he has enough there, as you said? Again, what happens when he has the ball and he sees no third man runs or the whole team's behind him? It's very simple just to expect one man coming back in and our fortunes change. Creativity should be a reflection of the manager. And for me, I'm not going to be naive. I'm sure he trains on it, but it seems like you've got a plan defensively. You've got some sort of plan in midfield. But once you get to that final third, which evidently wins you games and indirectly titles, we haven't figured it out beyond the set pieces.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, and like you saw against Newcastle, if he's not on it, we're in trouble. Which is not sustainable.
You know, for me, so obviously you're Arsenal fans in it, so you're emotionally invested in it, right? So from the outside, when I looked at your transfer window, I kind of thought you went about it the wrong way, and I heard Turkish talking about it, saying that basically he thought Arsenal should have, instead of buying system players, like the Marinos, who's a system player, who's a squad role, you should have spent your money, maybe instead of buying 3 players or whatever, getting a big name. Getting you that guy that can push you across the line. You know when Fergie won his last title, right? What did he do? He went out and bought Robin van Persie. He didn't go out. He didn't go out and go, oh, you know what? I'll buy some, squad rotational player. No. He went out and went, I'll tell you what I need to do. I need to go out there and buy someone that's going to win me the league. And he went out there, and he bought Van Persie. City been trying for so long to win a Champions League. What did we do? Went out there, bought Haaland, won us the treble. Yeah, sometimes you look at your squad and go, your squad's decent. Do you need more of these system players?
We didn't sign any level raises. I think you're bang on the money. There's no level raises.
Buying players like Marino, Calafiore, even Sterling to a certain degree, whatever, they're all right to boost your squad. But are they going to take you to the next level? I don't think they are. And for me, you would be better off.
When we get Champions League football, we're going to get world-class players. We haven't
brought
that
is the biggest myth ever. People this is something that the mainstream put out there all the time about, you get this. No, you get the money and they don't do
playing
that.
Field level now. Champions League's obviously a sweetener, but it's
mate, as a United fan who's missed out on the Champions League a number of times in the last 11 years, when we haven't had Champions League, we have signed Zlatan and Pogba. Even this summer, we signed one of the best up and coming potential superstar centre backs in the world, Euro, that Real Madrid wanted. Not only did we not have Champions League, at the beginning of this season, no one knew what direction we were going in. You can always sign. So when you're a club the size of Arsenal, size of Chelsea, size of City now, Liverpool, United, as long as you're prepared to pay the money, barring a handful of people, you can pretty much get who you want. Champions League helps.
Do you know what, Terry? Just quickly, do you know what, Terry? Terry, just quickly, because Arsenal, I'm totally in agreement with you, because Arsenal in the Europa League, they signed the likes of Lacazette, they signed Aubameyang, they signed Thomas Partey, we got Gabriel and Saliba. So it is an absolute myth. And this is what I was getting. I wasn't saying we should be getting world-class players because we're in the Champions League. This is what we're being told by this process. Once we're in the Champions League, we're going to sprinkle it with gold dust, is what the actual tolls they said. We're going to get this system, we're going to get this youth system in place, and then we're going to sprinkle it with gold dust. The only player that's come in to make us lift with this gold dust is Declan Rice. And he was at West Ham.
Yeah.
And it's quite obvious where Arsenal need to improve. Like, take nothing away from Kai Havertz. I can't ask any more from Kai. I think you're playing within your capabilities. I think you've been better than what I would have seen. But I just feel we do this weird thing. Like, we take players that will be good for the squad and we put them in position and boots they can't fill. Now, Havertz will probably get you double figures, but he's not going to get Haaland numbers. As much as I would love stars and world-class players and all of that, I just wanted some competencies. Now, I don't know football to them lot's level, but you could evidently see, go out and sign a versatile winger, primarily someone who could play on the left. You know, Martinelli has not been putting the balls in the back of the net. Considering we fought City for 2 league titles now, we could have done all of this and it might not have worked. We didn't. You didn't give the vibe that we really wanted it to be third time lucky. You haven't gone out and signed that striker. You haven't found someone that can lift the burden on Bukayo Saka. You haven't really, for me, I know it's easier said than done, but ain't found what I believe is the Santi Cazorla, the Cesc Fabregas kind of linchpin in midfield. I'm happy with, you know, Moreno and Calafiori. I think they're good additions, but I don't feel our squad's stronger. I don't feel there was any level raises. And, you know, this is kind of indirectly what we didn't do is why we find ourselves kind of in this mess, man.
You've also got the situation. Go on, Terry.
No. I've got the questions about that. You go first, mate. Go on.
All right. The thing that I was going to say, you've also found yourself in the very unique position, of outgrowing players that you've recently bought very, very quickly, right? So you bought the likes of Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus. Now, you bought these when you wasn't in the Champions League, I'm right in saying, So these are players that can get you back into the top 4, right? But they're not players that can win you a league. Now, people say, well, they won you a league at Manchester City. Hey, ask Manchester City fans.
They were squad players, man.
Yeah, they you know, I know.
That's where they should be if they're not going to
Zinchenko did play a lot, but he's playing left back. He's playing in a team that was at that point probably like everyone was playing in the peak, Like you've outgrown these players. So automatically now you need to get rid of Jesus. You need to get rid of Zinchenko. There's probably a couple more in there that you probably, because you've outgrown them. Now, I know some Arsenal fans will find that difficult to hear because we all get, emotionally attached to these players, right? But you need to accept that these players are not at the level that is required. Jesus, I said it when you signed him. He's not a striker anyway. Potsy, did I not say that to you when you signed him? I said, you've not bought a striker, mate. He's a winger anyway. Yeah, and he's not good enough for a team that's going for a league title. So you're going to have to this summer, whether you do it January, I don't think you will, but this summer, you need to have a look at that squad and say, right, we need to be ruthless here. Yeah, get rid of some of these players that are not at the level of Arsenal Football Club, which is a team that's trying to win the title. Get rid of them and bring in better players because you've outgrown them very quickly.
When it comes down to what you did in the summer, the players you're lacking, DG and Potts, who do you put this down to? You've
Everyone.
Just seen you said you've seen Edu leave, but is this a case of the Kroenke's not allowing more money to be spent? Is it a case of Edu maybe not having the contacts or not selling players for enough to raise it? Because everybody has to sell to buy to a certain degree. City are able to spend what they spend because they sell for a lot. Chelsea, yes, they've spent more than anyone else in the Prem. I think it's somewhere like 3.5 billion I read the other day. But they've sold about 1 point something billions worth of players. So they raise a lot through it. Or is it Arteta getting too much power and he's picked badly? Like, where do you kind of lie the blame for the poor summer and not being prepared, as you're kind of alluding to?
Everyone, as I've been saying, Terry, everyone has to take individual blame. This club sit here on you can go on their website, they say it's collaboration, we all make the decisions together. Mikel Arteta clearly gets his way. I'm pretty sure, even though Raya's worked out, when we wanted Raya at the time, Ramsdale was the number one, he was PFA nominated. I'm pretty sure in Arsenal's board they sat there and said, are you sure you want to do this? He got that. Kai Havertz couldn't have been someone they universally agreed on. He got that. Declan Rice, 100-odd million, he got that. I personally believe where Arteta is guilty, I think there's an over-reliance on players and that can't really get us to the next level. The Kroenkes have spent money. I'm by no means defending the Kroenkes, but they've spent money. I feel in the last 3 years, including now, anything that's been achieved or not achieved has been because of Arteta and Edu. Now, obviously, Edu's recently departed. I personally feel in Edu's defense, to be fair with you, we don't necessarily see what he's doing. He could be suggesting players and Arteta is not taking him up on that. He could be incapable, whether it's the phone book, etc. Everyone has to take responsibility, man. Like we've been sitting here and saying, I know it's a very mundane way to look at it, but you do not sign a past it Raheem Sterling on deadline day if you're ambitious. So that tells me there was incompetence in the window. You do not fail to get a striker. You do not only just get Moreno, and kind of where we're on brand with the Gabriel Jesuses, the Zinchenkos, the Tomiyasus, they're okay for the squad, but they really ever fit. So everybody's got to take responsibility for me, man. I feel I like Arteta, even though I don't back you religiously. I feel when things go right, there's this reliance to just it's all Arteta. When it hasn't worked out, I think everyone wants to blame anyone but Mikel Arteta. And I can't blame the Kroenkes if they actually sat there and said, you know what, you lot have spent money. Some of the signings have worked out. Some of them actually haven't. And we've spent a lot of money and not really done anything. And we've not moved them on. I can't blame the Kroenkes if they said sell before you could buy. And now, again, not defending the Kroenkes. They're not overly ambitious. They're not. Mikel Arteta isn't going to live or die by winning the title. So you kind of have to work within your means. And Mikel Arteta's got a lot of power, but as we know, it comes with great responsibility. So I don't know how Dan feels, but for me, everyone's got to take responsibility for this, man.
So for me, I actually put more blame on the Kroenkes than most, and I'll tell you why. People just throw back in your face, but they spend money. Yeah, so do the Glazers. Are you happy with the Glazers? Do you think the Glazers are great?
Don't you dare, mate.
There we go.
Don't set me off today.
There we go. Right.
Today.
So when you say they spend money, so do the Glazers. That's my reply. My problem with the Kroenkes is, do they show enough ambition to win? If you want them to get challenging, you want them to get top 4, cool, brilliant owners for that. They'll get you that.
Facts.
But will they get you across the line when it matters? Does the ownership say, who do you want? Isak, go on in. Go get Isak. Or do they just not have a clue? Because the whole club at Arsenal, by the way, has no experience in it whatsoever. We've got owners that don't know how to win in this sport. We've got board members that, let's be real, were given the job in first of the job, manager, never managed before. Edu, bit of experience in Corinthians, given the job, he's now gone. We've had players that are coming in. Some of them have been good in terms of experience of other sports, like Richard Garlick has done well, or particularly well in other things, but not at an elite level, if I'm honest with you. But really, there's no one at the club with any experience. And this is their project, right? The Kroenke people think this is an Arteta project. This isn't an Arteta project. He's part of the project. He's been given the job.
He fits the remit as a manager, a young manager, like you see with his other, like you see with their other kind of club model.
Exactly, like Sean McVay, another young manager. They want to get it right with the Rams. So for me, this is massively on the Kroenkes. And yeah, they put in money. They pumped in a lot of money. At times, it's been spent horrendously, in my opinion, right? But they are the ones that have given this a lot of money to people that have not got the experience of winning at elite level. And that's where I'm at.
But Dan, being devil's advocate, Dan, yeah, I'm with you with the Kroenkes. Everything indirectly goes on the owners, but being devil's advocate, whether we rate them or not, how they run it or not, they've shown that they're owners that will put people in place and kind of leave them to their own devices, right? Rightly or wrongly, that's what they do, right? Can we ask ourselves, Mikel Arteta and Edu, with all the money you've had to spend, whatever you did or wrongly or rightly, in all the variables that you two can control and indirectly everyone around you, have you got everything out of it? Because for me, I agree with what you're saying with the Kroenkes, but then if I look at them too, I don't think I can say that. So I have to look at them before I look at the owners, because they've got full ownership.
What you do then is, if you believe that's the case, then what are you doing? You're looking at the owners to go, what are you going to do about it? You're going to pull the plug? You're going to go another direction? There's got to be consequences.
We're not going to do that. The man's got a new deal, bro.
Bro, they're all staying. The Kroenkes will stay. Arteta will stay. Everyone's happy. Everyone that's not Arsenal.
Yeah, but how much did Edu have to play with this? Like these signings that you've made. How much impact did he have? Because he's obviously
transfer negotiation.
He's in there as well. That's why I said it's everyone. Edu's there. Like you're there. You've been part of it.
I agree with DJ. I think you have to look across the board here. What a sporting director, was that his title, sporting director, or was it football sporting director? What their job typically is to do, it isn't just to negotiate and buy players. Their job is to set the tone of how the football should be played. It's not on the head coach per se. The head coach at most football clubs now doesn't decide how the club is going to play football. And you also both spoke earlier, and a lot of Arsenal fans have spoke about how the football has dramatically changed this year compared to a few years ago. Why has that been allowed to happen? Now, it could be Edu directing Arteta to, we need you to be more pragmatic. We need you to be harder to beat. You're playing great attacking football, but it wasn't winning and change. It could be the other way around, and that's why I'm intrigued to see what happens now.
The other way around, Terry, man. It's definitely Mikel Arteta giving.
If it's Mikel Arteta, and it could be, and I'm not married to any particular way, any particular view on it. I think it's a dangerous world when the manager gets to dictate to a club how it's going to play football. I don't think it works in the modern day game. I think that it has to be, Pep will decide how to train the team, how to set the team up. But Man City definitely set the tone of how they want to play football. It's why they built a whole infrastructure to bring Pep into. They didn't bring Pep in and then build the infrastructure around him. It was the other way around. And I think this is where Arsenal need to be very careful that they don't allow Liverpool, by the way, nearly won a quad. And then a lot more power was given to Klopp in terms of he got to dictate a lot more what was happening at the football club. And most Liverpool fans will admit it, maybe through bated breath. but the signings weren't as good, the squad weren't as good, and they lost a little bit. They go back now to a model where Edwards comes back in and he runs the club, and they've got a head coach in who just does the head coach job at the top of the league. Greatest start to a season
so would
of a
you
new
say,
Liverpool
Terry, that
manager
the Kroenke's regime at the moment is failing or successful, would you say?
Oh, I mean, it depends. It depends on who we're talking to, right? Am I talking to you or Standards FC? Because Standard FC, they're failures, right?
Talk with your opinion.
No, my opinion is this. I think that I need to get this. I'm not an Arsenal fan, as everyone knows. When did they take over Fulham? Yeah, a lot of people question it. Do you know what I mean? But when did the Kroenkes take over permanently? I don't know the date on that.
Only 2021.
Okay,
a couple of years ago.
So I'm going to take it from when they took over permanently, because when they got their control, they've taken you from a team that back then was finishing just above mid-table, hadn't really won trophies for a long time, hadn't challenged for a league title in a long way. So I think the job they have done with Edu and Arteta of building you up to a title contending team has been very good. However, I think you can compartmentalize that. I think you can take what Edu, Arteta, and the Kroenkes collectively and individually have done in the last 3 to 4 years, and say, well done for getting us to this point. I think you can congratulate that and be happy with it, and at the same time say, we now want more. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. My problem when it comes to this conversation is some people are just, I don't care about any of that. If we haven't won the major trophies, it all means nothing. I don't necessarily agree, because without that foundation, you can't win the trophies anyway. Equally, I'm as frustrated when I listen to the sort of Arteta, like Arteta's fanboys. I know we have to keep him. There's no way we can get rid of him. Yesterday, I saw Arsenal fans upset about Edu going. I actually think Edu leaving is going to improve Arsenal. I think you're going to I think you can go out now and get someone even better. I think you can go out into the market and go and get a top-class sporting director who maybe has won those major. I think Arsenal were in a position where you could go to nearly any club in the world and take a sporting director, one who's won Champions Leagues, won the National League in whatever country he's in, and say, we want you to now help us navigate our way over the line. That if the Kroenkes do that, and I don't know who that person is, I haven't done enough research into who's out there, but say they go and get a world-class sporting director to come in to get them over the line, that for me shows massive ambition. If they get to the end of this season, there's no trophies, and they say, Arteta, we love you, but we're moving on, and they go out and they break the bank and Alonso or Inzaghi comes in, then I think you can look at your owners and say they're ambitious. If, however, they go out and get an ex-Arsenal player to be the director of football with no experience, Arteta wins nothing again, and they keep him, and then win nothing again, and they keep him, but you're making top four, then I think the answer's in. They care about being in the Champions League. They don't care about winning. They've got an opportunity with Edu leaving now to go to another level, bring in somebody better, and I think that will give a lot of... So I think what they've done up to this point, good, but you've got to judge them from this point moving forward as well, because you guys are capable of winning league titles. You're capable of winning Champions Leagues. You're capable of winning domestic trophies, but you need the right team from top to bottom to get you over that line, and ultimately that is on the owners of a football club to get that right, personally.
Yeah,
I also L's as well here, by the way, because Arteta has been a shambles this season. I'm sorry, that it really has been bad. Like the style of play has been pathetic, if I'm honest with you. Like LB said, he's so worried about going attack-minded. He's go OTT defensive. He's playing everybody everywhere now. I understand we've got injuries, but this has been a bit of a madness. We've got Partey playing at right back. We've got Trossard going in the 10. We've got Rice playing in the 8. I've seen Partey go back in midfield, then back to right back. Up top, we've got Kai Havertz and Kai Havertz only. We've got players coming on against St James's Park. Sorry, against Newcastle at St James's Park. Jorginho and Zinchenko coming on to win us a game with 1-0 down. What the hell's going on, man? Like, there's just so much at the moment I'm looking at, subs-wise, the way we're set up, tactically, looking to change, not trusting some of his players again, like Ethan Nwaneri, who he kept and said was ready. We don't need to replace Smith Rowe. We've got this kid, not seeing him enough. So I'm sorry, but he has to hold L. And there's a lot of the fan base that don't ever want to point the fingers and say that. But sometimes you just have to say it.
So unhealthy, Daniel. Bang on the money, man.
So unhealthy. It actually winds me up massively, massively. When your kid does something wrong, you tell them off. Yeah? You don't just let them get away with it all.
And you know what annoys me about that, Dan?
Why
Yeah,
is it
is
like
like-
that though at your club then?
Because because Arsenal fans can be a bit weird. You either don't rate Mikel Arteta, he's crap, get rid of him, he's copying Jose, Pep, whichever manager, and then you've got you've got some fans where he's the best thing since sliced bread. Now, me, I actually like Arteta. I want you to really achieve stuff at Arsenal. I don't really care if you achieve things away from Arsenal for obvious reasons, right? But I have no doubt you'll be a good manager. My issue is you need to do it at Arsenal. My biggest issue with that is, like, you lot have Pep. Obviously, if Pep does great things, you lot will wax lyrical. If he does something shaky, you're going to ask questions. And it's like, for me, you can't big up Mikel Arteta and then not blame him for certain things if it goes left. It really just doesn't make sense. It's like a cult following where it's got to the point now, if you ask a question of Arteta, you've got problems. It doesn't make sense, man. It's very irrational, if I'm honest.
That is unhealthy as well, like you were saying, because, like, you know, at the weekend when we got beat, I went on my channel and I said, listen, Pep made 2 or 3 mistakes today.
Exactly, it comes with the territory.
I don't really remember too many people in my chat saying, what the fuck you on about? Like, you know, you got to be able to have that conversation.
I got called out on Sunday for not having the same energy towards Rude as I did towards Ten Hag at the end. All of our fan bases have these people that are very polarized, and I actually think both groups, the Uber Arteta outers and the Uber Arteta inners, I think they're problematic for the football club in the sense of it's harder to have. I think you need to have a balanced conversation, and at the very least, see the other person's point of view. And I feel that there's too many that don't. And I believe that, look, one thing I would say about this is about Arsenal is I know that there's this notion that negative, angry fans hold high standards, therefore clubs succeed, and Real Madrid fans are the pinnacle of this. I would love, if I had the money to back a study, I'd love it to be studied. In my experience doing social media for 10 years, whenever fan bases are really happy and predominantly positive, is I see the best results for their team. Arsenal got better when the majority of the fan base was feeling a bit happier about the football. City fans have been happy for a long time now, and it's kind of maintained itself. Liverpool, similar. Man United, always toxic, never a problem. And I understand that as fans, you need things to improve at your club to create that positive environment. I'm not just saying be positive overnight for absolutely no reason. But sometimes I feel being overly positive and kind of being toxic with it, and equally being overly negative and toxic with it, I don't know if I do think fans are very powerful at football clubs. I think what we say and do and what we've said and done for years resonates into dressing rooms. I think it resonates into boardrooms. I don't believe this notion that what we say or do is unimportant, but I believe if there's no balance, and I believe if everything is just hyperbolic, very, very polarized, and you know, there's a comment that came through earlier that said something along the lines of, here it is. So, Terry, you really know how to bring on negative Arsenal fans when it suits you. These same people have said otherwise. I'm saying deluded is a flip flop. I don't know, right? Because I don't know that. But this is crazy.
God be there for buy a flip flop. Like, if the sun's shining, I'm going to tell you the sun's shining. If it's raining, why would I tell you the sun's shining? It doesn't make sense. For the record, I think there's plenty of things to be optimistic about if he is talking to me about Arsenal. As you said, we've got the foundation, we've got young players. I'd like, as I keep saying, but I'm negative, I actually like Mikel Arteta. But at the same time, there are small little things that are stopping us. And what annoys me, as kind of on brand with what you're saying, if we just want to waffle, call the whole club crap, people got time for that. If we went and beat Newcastle, everyone would have time to, you know, to drink the positive Kool-Aid. Why is it a problem to look at the highlights? Mikel Arteta comes out and says, we want to win Premier League titles. If you go on Arsenal.com right now, actually, and go and read the statement that said when Edu leaves, Josh Kroenke comes out and says, we're still committed, something along the lines of, we're still committed to winning and doing all of these kind of things. The club are saying it. We all saw the last day of last season. I'm not asking anything more of Arsenal Football Club than they're doing internally. Do you really think these players are happy to have, kissed the Premier League and lose out 2 points to City last season? That's the only way we're going to get to the next level. Not thinking about what we're good at. Take the good and make it great. It's the evident failings that are stopping us. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I actually believe on and off the field, we are our own worst enemies. I don't, as great as Manchester City are in those last 2 seasons prior to now, take nothing away from City. I can't, before I go and look at why Manchester City won the league, I look at Arsenal. I think of the lack of striker. I think of the little ruts we had at times. I think at times we didn't get over the line. We know we've got a competitive side. It's now about time to stop being the nearly men. It's those fine margins. As I said, 2 points last season. There's little things we could do that make the world of difference, but it's copium. Football fundamentally is an emotional sport, bro. So people can hear what they want.
And at the end of the day, when you're near the top, you have to nitpick to get over that line. And to the comments, and I know when to bring negative football fans on. I just love those comments because 1 minute I'm called the Arsenal terrorist and nothing negative gets said here. The next minute, you have too many negative Arsenal fans on here. It's opinions, and there's a variety of them on the Football Terrace. And I still get called out for saying Arsenal was scary. Well, 2 years ago, they were scaring me. But again, I've explained it a million times and it never gets addressed. I was talking about it from my position in the fucking mud. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it Man City fans weren't scared per se. Well, LB kind of alluded to it earlier. But I just think it's important to have the conversations. And, as this super chat here says, the Arteta out debate is 5 years old. Look, I look at it this
It's because it's valid. It's Abraham. The reason that we still have in the debate and people talk about it because it's still a valid debate. Arsenal's won 1 trophy in 5 years under this guy. That's why if he starts winning Premier Leagues and Champions League, the debate's gone. The debate's gone.
I think it's this though, the LB. I think if we're being intellectually honest, I think the debate. Some will say it's never ended. I think it did, and it started again. And what I mean by that is this: when you listen to a lot of the people that are staunch Arteta routers, they also claimed he'd never get into a top 4 race, he'd never make it into the Champions League, he'd never get us into a title race, he would never get us. And I'm speaking in their voice, not my own, when I say we, for anybody that's wondering, right? I'm not going to get rid of them accusations, am I? But they got a lot wrong in that debate as well. So I think for some people, it's, well, you got 5 of your 6 predictions about the manager wrong. You've lost the debate, as an example. However, let's just say that's true. Let's just hypothetically say it is. Abraham, you can't just say the manager's got to stay in forever. You've got to aim to win those major trophies. I think this is where the balance has to come in. And I feel that some people online are just worried that an Arteta outer will win the debate. And I just think that shouldn't be, for me as a Man United fan, I'm never worried about winning the debates or not. I'm more worried about my club doing well. And I don't think Amorim's going to come in and we're going to be in a title challenge this season or next. I'd love to be fucking wrong about that. I'm not married to being right about my predictions. And I just think, if it ends up being the right thing for Arsenal to do to move on from and again, people go back to my early Arsenal scary videos. Listen to what I said. I said, I think it's win-win. I think you're either going to go on to win with this man or you'll be built to win with somebody
people don't
else.
Care about
either
that,
way.
Man.
Yeah,
people don't care about that, Terry. It's agendas, man. It's agendas and being loyal to your own ideologies. Football's a humble lot. Everybody's had good shouts and bad shouts. Yeah. We just want what's right for the football club, man. Simple as that. If keeping Arteta is the right thing, hopefully time tells that. If getting rid of him is the right thing, hopefully time tells that. It's just people want to be more right than see their club actually win things.
Yeah, that's the problem we got, man. I don't understand
agree.
why people believe they have to be right or wrong all the time. Look, I'd love to be wrong about Arsenal. The only thing I was wrong about was, did I see Arteta get us challenging a game? Nah, not when we were coming 8th and 5th. Nah, I didn't, if I'm honest with you. I was wrong about that. But the process weren't, let's get us challenging again. The process was to win us trophies. I was told when we went to Highbury to the Emirates, we were going to be up there with Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. That was the plan, right? 20 years later, we've been losing to the other teams we're getting with B that aren't Bayern Munich and Barcelona.
City have done that, if anything.
Yeah. Yeah, facts. I mean, look, City's a completely different story, in my opinion. But I look at what Arsenal have done, and I look back and I think, wow, we hounded out a manager when he didn't win anything, and he was 22 years at the club and incredibly successful. And now we're getting to that stage again where we aren't winning stuff, and everyone's like, it doesn't matter this time because he's got nice hair and he buys dogs called Win. I don't get it. But for me,
that stuff's crazy to me. And I think that there is that balance in this. And I agree with you, Deluded. I think that Arteta's, I think he's going to go on to win major things in his career. It just may not necessarily be at Arsenal. And there comes that point where there comes that, and I've said from the beginning of last season, moving forward, for what it's worth, I'm judging Arteta solely on what he wins now. The rebuild, I've kind of compartmentalized that. Did a great job from taking you from where you were to this level. But he now has to be judged as manager at one of the biggest clubs in the world, in the biggest league in the world. And he has to be judged fairly within that. And that doesn't mean that it undoes his previous achievements or the growth. It doesn't mean it undoes previous opinions of mine and I'm suddenly a flip-flop. It's the way the world is. How I'm going to treat Amorim.
You set the standards. You finished second twice. You've set the standards. And now we're asking, when are we going to get over the line?
Next level. Look, when Amorim comes in, I'm not going to have the same thoughts around Amorim day one as I will going into his second season, into his third season, because you expect that growth at that point from where we are right now. And what I congratulate him for, and hopefully I do in his first full season versus his fifth full season, should be very different, especially when your starting point's here. Now, again, the irony is when the next manager comes in, and at some point Arsenal will get a new manager for one reason or another, if you guys are title challenging or title winners, the expectation on that new manager should be very different from the opening expectations that Arteta had, because Arteta took you over when you were down here. And I don't understand why that's such a hard concept for people to follow. When the guy replaces Pep, no one's coming in going, you know, we've got to give, say it's Inzaghi, got to give Inzaghi 3 years to build his squad, haven't you? No, the expectation will be you fucking win straight away because they're one of the best teams in the world. And
why do people see it that way, though, Tel? Why do people think that if we get rid of Arteta, everything's now done? We're starting again.
I've said it before. I think some of your fan base is nervous. Yeah, and I know this sounds patronising. I don't want it to sound patronising, but it's just a fact. This is my opinion. I think some of your fan base is nervous that if Arteta goes, you'll drop off and become a banter club again. What I say to that is, nah, that's not going to happen.
Sorry.
No, but it's serious. I don't believe if Arteta was to go, unless they appointed a clown, they're not going to drop off. Just like when Klopp left, Liverpool haven't dropped off. The team that Arsenal have now is a good team. Yeah, if you get rid of him and get a new manager, providing you get a manager that's obviously capable, right, you're going to still be there. The days of Arsenal being the banter club are over. They're not that club anymore. They're a club that's seriously trying to win. So that's what I'm saying. And for Jackie in the chat, no, I wouldn't take Arteta at City after Pep. No.
Why? Can I ask why, LB? Can I ask why?
First of all, I don't actually like him. I think he's a bit of a prick. And the fact is, I don't like the way he manages the team. I don't like the way he manages the team. I don't like the way he sets you up. I don't like the football he plays, and the fact he's not actually winning anything. I don't like the fact he's disrespected some of the domestic cups over the years. So no, I wouldn't take him.
And what's mad to me, right, is that when I've said before, when I've questioned Mikel Arteta and said I want him out, by the way, those that think I want him out, I'm giving him till May. If he doesn't win, me saying goodbye. If he does, then fair play. It's the aim of the game. But the managers, when I've told, who do you want? Ain't no one better. Ain't no one out there better. Hansi Flick, nah, washed, mate. Oh, what, the guy who's top of La Liga? Okay, he's washed. What about Antonio Conte? Do you not see what he did at Spurs? The guy's coming in, he's now, 12 points clear or 7 points clear at Napoli. Like, these are winners. These are CVs that say, I win. Mikel Arteta has not got one of those. He can only dream of doing half what those managers done. Simone Inzaghi, another one, won everything in Serie A. Diego Simeone, another one I've mentioned in years ago, probably should be sacked at Atletico Madrid this season if he doesn't win something. That's what the standard should be. Carlo Ancelotti over at Real Madrid winning Champions Leagues. And he just get laughed at. What, you want him? He's washed at Everton. Did you not see we did at Everton? Yeah, he finished 2 points behind Super Mick. That's what he did with Everton. Look at him now, since he's gone. Unbelievable, man. There are definite managers out there. If Arteta does go Arsenal, the club does not fold. We don't all have a funeral and have a service about Mikel Arteta leaving. Oh, my God, it's such a bad day. It's such a sad day for the club. No, it's not. We move on. I've seen Wenger go. I've seen Riot go. I've seen George Graham go. You move on. But some of these fans are younger. They've only ever seen us in the top four. So now we're second. It's like, oh, my God, we're not fourth anymore. We're second. Haven't won anything, though. Don't matter. It's not about trophies. It's the journey. It's buying dogs and all this crap. No, it's not. It's about winning.
And why would you call the dog win unless you want to win? This is why, again, with the rebuild and all of that stuff, big up Arteta. For me, it's just now. I said this guy's going to buy a gerbil next and call him Trophy. That's what I've said.
As an outsider, the dog stuff and that doesn't bother me whatsoever. Like all that stuff. But then again, I'm not.
I think it's weird.
I don't.
I think it's proper weird.
I think it's weird, but all these managers who are quote unquote genius or anyone that's an innovator, they are weird. I just want you to actually win something now. I think
it's weird. I can understand why people say it's weird when certain people. I'll give you an example. Do you remember when Brendan Rodgers, when he first got to Liverpool, there that documentary that came out called, he did the envelope thing, and people were like, that is shit, that is shocking, that's cheesy, nobody would do it. And then it turned out Fergie did it in the early 90s to the United squad, and then you kind of get that. Yeah, but that's Fergie. So the action's not weird. It's who's doing it.
You've got to do those mad things, bro. They've helped create a culture at the club.
That's why it doesn't bother. I saw what is it he did earlier on in the year with the pickpocket?
Light bulbs, pickpockets, listening to Never Walk Alone at the training ground. I like this stuff, but let's just win stuff
that
now.
Stuff doesn't. I don't like it. I don't dislike it. I almost feel like it's personally. I don't find it's that important of a talking point. And I think that if you love him, some people go, "Oh, genius." If you hate him, this is pathetic and stupid. I'm kind of in the middle where I just think, yeah, I'm not that worried. I'm not that worried about it. But to your question, Potsy, I think the problem is in England as well. is that we have generation after generation of fans who have been brought up to think that managers are the most important person at the club. They run the club, and they just don't in the modern day era. And we are, unlike our continental friends who didn't really ever have managers. Their whole system has been built with a president and a head coach. They kind of understand it a lot better than we do. A lot of the Americans who watch our sport, a lot of their sports have a general manager that runs the franchise, and then the head coach who coaches the team. And the general manager does certain roles. Obviously, the coach coaches the team. We're so used to Wengers and Fergies and Cloughys and the like who run the entire club from top to bottom. And I'll tell you this now, Gooners, you don't want that. Man United have tried it 5 times in 11 years after Fergie left. Some with brilliant managers, like Jose, right down to Ollie's with little to no experience. And each one of them ultimately flopped. You know, one of the biggest reasons Ten Hag could not replicate what he did at Ajax at United is because the structure wasn't there. And by the time we had a structure, it already burnt the bridges. It already kind of failed in that regard. It was, you know, the egg had already been cracked. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, whatever kind of phrase you want to use. It was done. It was over. And that was obvious. And I think that, listen, I think there's a lot of positives about Mikel Arteta. I've praised a lot about his teams. I don't take any of that back. I stand on most things that I've said. You know, we change our mind on things, absolutely, because that's what grown-ups do at times when information changes. But I think any Arsenal fan that's panicking, thinking we are going to fall off if Arteta leaves, only if you hire a worse manager. But do you know what you can do? You can just sack him and bring somebody else in, because I think you've created a model which enables you to sack managers more regularly without having to have a huge change. And I got called out a few weeks ago by some people in my DMs that were like, Terry, why suddenly are you happy to sack loads of managers at United when you were against it? Because we now have a structure that would support that. The reason I didn't like it before is because each manager was running the entirety of the club, which means every time you sack them, you literally start again. It's not like that anymore. And I just think Arsenal fans need to relax. Yeah, Arsenal fans just got to relax.
Coaches. Arteta just, I say just, but if you remember a few years ago, he actually only just got the title of manager. He started as a head coach. So you're right. That's what the model typically is. The problem with Arsenal is beyond the buzzwords and what we like about our club, you can't really say there's a model. Like historically, maybe not so much now, but Barcelona, you know, whoever's going to be the manager, there's Tiki-Taka, there's La Masia, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Madrid, you know, you have a short shelf life if you don't win the Champions League. So you're right, man. Managers are kind of more disposable now than they've ever been. But yeah, man.
No, I agree. Twisted Bubba here says disingenuous, good enough for Arsenal, but wouldn't have it at United. Well, let's see with Amorim. You'll see whether or not I have the same energy. And I've said it for years. If Man United's football improves, if we're going up the league, I'll give the new head coach time. If we stay where we are for the next year and a half, I'll probably say maybe I'll say I think he needs to go. And equally, in the first couple of years of Arteta, I totally got why Arsenal fans wanted him gone. I thought we should. And look, there is mileage in the argument that had you have changed him for a quote-unquote better manager, you might be in a better position now. And this is the thing about all these debates. Sometimes it's just about admitting, I'm right about some bits, I could be wrong about others. No one knows the answer to that question, but it could have been true. If you'd have sacked him 2 years in and gone and got Ancelotti, maybe you'd be league champions by now. We don't know the answer to that. But the point is, he's done a much better job since. And I think it's been right to give him a few more years. But now he's got to win trophies. I don't really think that's a controversial opinion, but that's just me. Some super chats here. The delusional fans of our fan base are the people who are opposing these two guys. For me, they are the one of the best amongst us, to speak the truth. Big up Dan and DG. Keep the fire burning. Don't look back.
Big up, bro. Big up, bro.
This here from Abraham, who says Arsenal have won 5 actual good trophies in 20 years. This isn't just defending Arteta. It's been a shit team, for decades. But just believe in Arteta. I believe we've been unlucky.
Well,
so some say you make your own luck, don't they? That's
exactly.
Or you get taken over by a billionaire. One of the two.
Yeah. I mean, that's great, but we've been half decent the last 2-3 years. So let's just win some trophies, man. Like, I hear all of that past stuff and whatnot, but we've come a long way now. Let's actually get something set in stone. So let's make history. Let's get that first prem. Let's aspire for the champs. That's what it's about now. One love for the rebuild. Move on now.
Yeah,
I get that. For me, this from Ray says, for me, Arteta has done the job Arsenal for the next man to win what you want. When he came to Arsenal, they were in the mud, but now, and yeah, maybe that's his role. Maybe he's the guy before the guy. This happens.
It's like Moses in the Bible, isn't it? Not to be blasphemous, but he walked in the desert. He didn't get into the promised land. That could be something.
Did he not? I didn't know that.
No, man, no.
I read
Moses walked for like 40 years. He didn't get into the promised land. So that could be Arteta. Anything could be. Like, I want Arteta to win stuff, but we just need to get over the line.
He must be in there by now, though, right? Surely he's done enough good.
I think he actually. I think in the Bible he actually dies before he gets in there, man. So yeah,
surely he's been let in now for good behavior. Surely,
hopefully now, man. I love to.
Can you imagine Moses is not in heaven when you get there? That'd be a shock, wouldn't it? You're like, you're well expecting him to be let in by now. Jesus, KJ's be fuming with me. I agree. I don't know. I agree with LB. We do need to replace Gabriel Jesus and Zinni with world-class players. Edu dropped the ball, in my opinion. Mikel does well with what he's given, in my opinion.
He's got us challenging. Now gets across the
line.
He's
done the majority of it's good.
Because people might not think that this team is good enough to win the league, and I actually believe Man City's got the better squad in the league, right? Still, and I think Liverpool got quality players. But this team is good enough to win a trophy. If Ten Hag can win trophies and other managers can win trophies, this guy can win trophies with this side. For me, 2 trophies, exactly, right? So no one tell me this side can't be good enough to win a trophy this season. If you don't win the league and you miss out by 2 points with Manchester City, you can sit there and talk about why we dropped them points and why we could have done this. But for me, Mikel Arteta wins a trophy or he gets sacked. It's that simple for me.
Big up Arteta, man.
LB is right. We should have bought Victor Osimhen.
Oh, that was one of the options. Striker was an option. I don't know that I wanted Osimhen. I would have taken Victor Gyökeres as the number 1, to be fair. Isak's my number 1, but it weren't realistic. I don't think he was leaving whatever in the summer. But for me, Victor Gyökeres is proving why. I mean, he scored 16 goals in 10 games. He scored 4 the other night in one of the cup competitions, and he's also scored 2 out of 3 in the Champions League. This guy is on fire and balling, and I'll be watching him tonight against City. Trust me.
I just went and looked at him. It says he's got 4 goals in 7 games this season. It must not been updated. The website I'm on must not have updated it. He scored all those goals.
He's been insane, man. Absolutely.
I didn't.
Scoring every day, man.
Why so quiet, Terry? Well, sometimes I let other people talk on my shows. I'm not a dictator, my friend. Carragher wasn't wrong about Arsenal's recruitment.
What did he say about Arsenal's recruitment? I don't even know.
Well, he must be saying, well, good. That must be what
he's right. If he says it weren't good, then yeah.
I didn't see what he said.
This here says all the scrutiny of City's players, even after injuries and below par performances, fact remains they are just 2 points off the top, which is nothing for City to overcome, as history suggests.
Yeah. Now that is factual information, yeah. That is truth. The thing is we don't change the way we're playing, then it won't be 2 points for long. It'll quickly get worse, and you need to check our fixtures, bro. Like, we got tough games coming up now after the break. We've got Brighton at the weekend. So you're factually correct. But if we don't improve, it won't be 2 points. It'll extend rapid.
I'm sure it will. I'm just trying to check out these Osimhen goals. Is he in the Champions League or the Europa League?
Gyökeres. He's in the champs.
Oh, you said Gyökeres. I'm looking at Osimhen. Sorry, I'm being stupid. That's why that's why we're marrying up. Yes. Gyökeres has been great. Sorry, I misheard.
Sorry, I meant Gyökeres, not Osimhen.
Yeah, Oh, he looks amazing. I am liking the rumors, though. There are a lot of strong rumors from Portugal that United will come in for him and he'll want to play for Amorim. I'd love that.
It'd be a phenomenal signing, man.
He looks. I know some people said the other day, you don't get that much space in the Prem. I can accept that, but it's the way he finishes. It's the way he places it into the top corner with power. That no matter what league you're in. That's a shot's a shot. Do you know what I'm saying? So
he's scoring goals in the Champions League, Till. That's the difference. People say I did it at Coventry and
a variety of them as well.
I don't care, man. The guy is balling everywhere he's been, and he's doing it in the Champions League, and he's doing it consistently. He's scoring all sorts of goals. And the stat that really does impress me more than anything is one that people don't talk about enough. Is his ball carrying stats are incredible, mate. He ain't just a lump who stands up there and waits for the ball. He's a top player, man. Trust me. Anyone gets him. I mean, yeah, that's what we need to get.
He reminds me of like a young Harry Kane, who can carry the ball as well. He's good with his feet, got good technical ability, can pass, can score, can drive with the ball. He's got absolutely everything. And Yeah, I mean, his goal scoring record is insane this season. And of course, all of that is down to the best manager in the country, Ruben Amorim. Oh, I'm only going by Pep. Pep said he's better than him. So I'm just going by Pep's words there.
Mind games.
Yeah, Pep's words.
Pep says that sort of stuff all the time, man.
No, I know he does. I know he does. I love Pep when he's rattled. The other day when he said, he said the other day, that when Spurs beat the record, the news isn't that Spurs beat us tonight. The news is it's our first defeat since the FA Cup final. I was like, oh, I love this guy. I'd love him if he was my manager, 100%. My probability of winning the Premier League: City 50%, Liverpool 35%, Arsenal 15%. Are Liverpool not the favourites from this point, or still City in everybody's eyes?
I think City are still favourites for me.
Yeah,
you know, we've won 4 on the bounce. Yeah, we're going through a bad patch, but you know, De Bruyne's now back. Foden is now, you know, he needs to start delivering, and I'm sure he will. Like I say, I think if you had to back one of the 3 teams to be serious in January in terms of the transfer market, who would you back?
City, isn't it?
Yeah.
You back City. So I think he is probably spot on there. I'll probably go with those percentages, something like that.
If we lose at the weekend and City were to lose, you say you got Brighton, LB.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but they've got Villa as well, haven't they?
Liverpool, if Liverpool beat them, and then it goes to like, what's that going to be? 9 points, we'll be behind them, or is it 10 points behind them?
Yeah, we'd be 5, and you'd be like 9 or something.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. Yeah. That's why it's so crazy. I mean, but then again, if Liverpool lose and City lose and Arsenal win, you know, if Liverpool and City, Arsenal lose and City win, it's just. That's why I think it's too early to say title race over. I've got Liverpool now as my marginal favourites. I don't think they're going to drop off too much. Like, I don't think they're going to have this massive collapse. Like, people are kind of. There's a few gooners I listened to. I think it might have been Babs yesterday on DR Sports. Basically, just said he kind of just said, "Yep, 7 points," but that'll dissolve essentially. And I don't know if it will that easily. I think they look pretty solid, Liverpool. And I think they might spend in January, but we'll see.
Imagine if Arne Slot wins the league in his first year. What does that do to Arsenal?
Uncomfortable conversations over in North London, man.
That is
a very nice conversation. Not a nice conversation for Arsenal fans to have. Arteta lovers to have. I'll tell you that now. He just waltzes in, and also it makes Jurgen Klopp look like a bit of not a wally, but it makes him look like, wow, I couldn't win. This guy's just waltzed in and basically done it.
Applaud Slot for that, man, and ask questions of my manager, really. But there's 28 games left. It's down to us to paint whatever narrative we want, man. Do you go out and this looks like a rough patch? Do we get close and it's a bit like last season and we look back at this period and say that's where we lost it? Or do we continue with what we're doing? Like, again, it can be all doom and gloom. Mathematically, there's still something to fight for. All I want is my team to get their act together, man. Nobody feels sorry for themselves. Just get back to it, man. It's as simple as that.
You know what it is with Liverpool, though, yeah? Like, I don't know if you guys seen this as well, but like within a game or two of watching them at the start of the season, I knew he was a serious manager. Like, how serious he'll turn out to be, like, in terms of like, will he actually win anything? I don't know. But like, you could just tell after a couple of games and watching how they play that, yeah, they're gonna be all right. They're gonna be all right. You know what I mean? They'll be top 4.
The biggest compliment you can give is they haven't actually been unrecognizable since Klopp has gone. Like Liverpool, you actually look good. You don't look at them and go, "Oh, you can really see Klopp's gone there." Like they look all right, but wow,
they don't look like a team in transition.
You think there was clearly going to be that? I mean, me and LB had this conversation before. Yeah, I think they'll be in and around the title. I don't think they'll win it. I don't think either of us had it to win it. But certainly, you look at the players and you think, so actually, is it massive shock that they've got Salah and they've got Trent and they've got Van Dijk? Konate, who I think is a brilliant defender. Gravenberch is getting into everyone's combined 11s at the moment in the 6th role because he's been that good. They've got Alexis McAllister, who's got to be one of the best midfielders in the league in terms of that position. Why is it a massive, massive shock that they're up there? Maybe it was because of the Klopp factor, but I think Slot deserves a hell of a lot of credit so far, man, because they've looked good.
Facts.
No, they have. They've looked absolutely brilliant so far. And the fact that he's got the greatest start to a new manager in the history of their football club. And I think it might be one of their greatest starts to a overall campaign ever with the amount of wins in the games they've played, plus the greatest start a manager has ever had in their club's history. I mean, you just look, maybe having said that, I do think, Arnie's Big Ange did it last year. I think had the greatest start of a new manager in Premier League history, and that fell off. But this Liverpool team are not going to collapse like Spurs did last year, in my personal opinion. It's not going to happen. Speaking of collapses, it's a bit of a bad week for Chelsea, wasn't it? They rested all their players in the League Cup for the Man United game, and they went out. And then I know you boys said it was bad quality at the weekend. I do think Man United structurally were good, defended well, nullified them, and stopped one of the best attacks in the country. The likes of Delit, Maswari were excellent, but a bad week really for Chelsea, who I think felt they were going to go through in the cup. They the word was, our squad is one of the best in the Prem. They got beat by Newcastle, and then they go to Man United, and you saw the match reactions afterwards. Chelsea fans thought they were going to come away with 3 points, 3 or 4 goals, and it didn't quite happen. Has it just been a bad week, or maybe a little bit of reality setting in LB?
Probably a bit of that, man.
Yeah, listen, I think for me, I think obviously Chelsea are looking a lot better than maybe a lot of people thought. The fact that they're in the top 4 now is impressive, although I did have them in and around that anyway. I think really you've got to look at the job Maresca's doing. He's doing a decent job. I think getting knocked out of the League Cup is disappointing, because if you look at the squad they have, they probably could have won that. You know what I mean? If they stuck in there, they had a decent chance of winning it. But if Maresca can win the FA Cup or win that Conference League, and I know some people don't rate the Conference League, but still a European Cup, even though there are not many decent teams in it. If he can win the FA Cup and or the Conference League and finish top 4 in his first season, I think you have to take your hat off to him and say, fair enough. By the way, that is with a goalkeeper. I actually know that Sanchez did make some good saves against United, but Sanchez, I think, is one of the worst, if not the worst, goalkeepers in the Premier League. Yeah. And Jackson, even though he's doing well, still don't think he's their long-term solution as the striker. Yeah. So I think if he can finish top 4, win an FA Cup, win a Conference League, I think you got to say that's a pretty good job. And then what you do is next summer, if you add in a proper top-class goalkeeper, and you might make an acquisition as a striker, depending on how Jackson's doing, they could be a serious threat for the Premier League next year. So I think, fair play to him. He's doing a good job. If he can finish top 4, win a trophy, I think that is a great season, especially with that Sanchez in there, because he is awful. I think he's the worst goalkeeper in the league.
I think Chelsea's midfield is going to get really good, by the way. I think Lavia, I've always rated Lavia. I never wanted to say it too loudly, but I always rated Lavia. They keep him fit. He is a great, great player. Caicedo, for me, has probably been one of the best midfielders in the league this season. I think he's been that good. And then you look at Palmer, and I know people will give him stick, but he's in that state now where Cole Palmer's been looked at in every single game under a microscope. But trust me, the guy has got serious ability still, as we know, goals and assists wise. And I think if they can keep that together, I think that could be a very, very formidable midfield that finally has some balance in it. I mean, I don't know, it's uncomfortable questions for the likes of Enzo Fernandez, that's for sure. But certainly if those 3 stay fit, I think Lavia, Caicedo and Palmer have an unbelievable ability of getting Chelsea across the line. I still feel personally like they do need a centre forward, and I know that they have the best attack in the league, but Arsenal scored a ridiculous amount of goals last season, and we still need a striker, so they definitely do. And defensively, I question Chelsea sometimes. I'm not quite sure they've got that right at the moment. I think they could do with another centre half and potentially look at a centre half pairing. And with LB, I think the goalkeeper's a shambles. I really do. And I understand he's made some good shot stops, but trust me, I've seen goalkeepers at Arsenal that are good at shot stopping and not much else. That Sanchez is a bozo, mate, and he needs to go.
I reckon he's the worst goalkeeper in the league, legit. Who's the worst goalkeeper than him in the league? Because I had a look through the list, man.
In the Ipswich Town one, man. What's his name?
Muric?
He looks absolutely
It may be Muric. I did say that last time. I think maybe Muric is a shout. Other than that,
no, you're right. I said he's one of the worst in the league when he was at Brighton. I couldn't believe they bought him. I thought he was absolutely awful. So look, I've got to say it. I think there's definitely goalkeepers that have been worse than him in the Premier League, and then maybe that are worse. People will probably shout in the chat now, some of them. But let's just be real. Chelsea have actually looked pretty good in terms of how they set up and their tactics under Maresca. They definitely need to improve, and they're nowhere near where they should be. Chelsea should be winning titles and Champions Leagues. That's where they should be, right? So they're nowhere near that. So they've got a long way to go, but it's been a good start for them. And I think a lot of people had them floating around maybe 9th, 8th, 7th this season. And certainly they're going to, in my opinion, get Champions League football, whether that's 4th or 5th through the coefficients. So, yeah, I have them definitely in the top 5 still. I thought they were disappointing in the attack against Man United, if I'm honest. I didn't think Manchester United were great either, but I suppose from where Man United were, they'll probably take a point against Chelsea because of the way things have been going and where they are at. But I didn't think either team looked fantastic. And I think Chelsea were quite disappointing in the front line, to be fair, considering they've been so impressive going forward and scoring goals. They are a little bit Cole Palmer FC, if I'm honest still. I think when he has a bad game, Chelsea don't win. We saw that against Liverpool and now against Manchester United and other games, if I'm honest, this season.
City as well. City goes to the games as well.
Palace as well. and Forest as well, actually. So yeah, he really is Palmer FC. They've dropped everywhere. They've dropped points. He's had bad games. So
But
he's
other players then need to step up, don't they? Potsy, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Because
of
this is what
course
you're
they do,
saying, isn't it? Like you can't just rely on one player in Cole Palmer. I mean, he's a
We're the
brilliant
same.
player.
We got Saka, you know, and that really don't play well. It's the same with us.
Yeah, now 100%. So like Neto, Madueke, whoever Jackson, whoever it is, they need to step up and help out because you're right. It does seem like if Palmer's on it, you're in trouble as the opposition team. You're in serious trouble because he'll tear you apart. But if he's having a bit of a quiet game, by the way, he's entitled to. Yeah, you know, he's not messy. He's not going to be playing 10 out of 10 every week. Sometimes he isn't going to have a good game. Where are the other players that are going to step up? You can't just rely on one player all the time. So yeah, I do think that some of them, but it's the first season under this manager. I said it before. I think Chelsea fans should be quietly optimistic about what's going on. Like I say, if they can finish top 4 and win a trophy in his first year, I think that's a top season. Considering the fact that they still don't have a good goalkeeper and the striker's still a little bit like long-term issues, a question mark. I think that's a great season. Brilliant.
Yeah, look, I think it's a bad week for them. I saw a lot of their anger, and I don't know whether that was really at their own team or whether it was just they really wanted to dunk on Man United and they didn't get the opportunity to. I've seen a few United fans that were really angry after the game, and they've kind of admitted now, I just wanted to stick it on Chelsea. I'm like, oh, it's not really an excuse to attack your football team because you didn't get to banter people on Twitter. Personally, but then I'm nearly 40, so maybe I view the world differently. But this is going to happen. They're a team that's growing, that's developing, but you're going to have these moments. I do think rotating for the League Cup and then for the United game and then not winning either, that always adds insult to injury. Whenever you rotate for a cup game, go out and then don't win the subsequent league game, it will always frustrate a fan base. yeah, sort of. But obviously, you know, you haven't got you've got a few more excuses than them at the moment with the fact you've won loads of those trophies and whatever else. And I think that, look, Maresca is at the beginning of his time at Chelsea. He's going to get time because they've started well. But Chelsea are going into 3 to 4 years now without a trophy, and the League Cup's gone, and they've got they should win the Conference League. I just can't understand them not winning that at the moment. They just look so much better than everybody else in it. So maybe that will give them that trophy. They kind of complete the European set. But in their heart of hearts, Chelsea is such a big club now. They can't just play football for 3 or 4 years. They need to try and win trophies along the way. So I think there was a bit of a bad week for them. The Palmer stuff as well. Look, he hasn't had the greatest of times in the bigger clashes this season. But I'm going to defend him like I defend a lot of other players like Saka and Foden in those scenarios. It's agendas, agenda-driven analysis when it comes to players. Oh, this proves he's a fast-track bully. Okay, I just remember Ronaldo getting treated like this as a 21-year-old in England because he wasn't quite doing it yet against the big boys. It sometimes takes time. Like we're so ready and willing to make overarching statements that trying to define someone's career at the fledgling stage of it. I find it a bit boring, if I'm being honest. If he was 25, 26, 27 and had barely done it against the big boys, fair enough. But this is a young man who's only really he's got 3 months into his second full season as a pro, and he hasn't quite turned up in some big games for his club this year. This man scored in a European Cup final a few months ago. I don't know. Listen, I was glad he didn't have a good game. I'm glad we stopped him. But I felt like some of the reaction from rival fans towards him since then has been dramatic, to say the least. I think it's been a little bit over the top, personally. But that's just me. Comment here says Chelsea 5th. Yeah, they might come about 5th. And 5th would be
that gets Champions League. So if that's what I'm saying. If they can get Champions League and win a trophy in his first year, because you can remember as well, people won't like this, but if you finish second or you finished 4th, it's the same thing. And people will say, "Oh, context." No, it's the same thing. You're both getting Champions League. You both didn't win the league, and you both got Champions League. So if Chelsea get 5th, that apparently is going to get us Champions League this year, because that's what they're saying. If you get 5th, you get Champions League, because England are in the coefficient thing, and win a trophy, and then buy a striker maybe, or improve the squad and buy a goalkeeper. There'll be a problem next year for the Premier League. There will.
Mish makes a point here. He says Palmer had a ridiculous season last year, and now teams are marking him tighter. It's literally how football works. It's true.
That is a very good point. It is. But that was always going to happen, right? That was always going to happen.
Exactly. Which is why, again, after one very good season, I wasn't going, yeah, better than Foden, better than this, better than that. It was last season he might have been, but it's a case. Well, actually, last season Foden was amazing, but you can't take one season of a player and say that overrides 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons of somebody else. In reality, that's just never how football analysis has been done.
There's no excuses for that either, because Saka's had that now for the best part of 4 years. So it's not like, it's a shame now because Palmer's being double marked. Get used to it, man. Saka's had that for.
It's what happens. It's what happens when you're a top player. At the end of the day, you know what I mean.
Of course it is.
It's why the likes of Ronaldo and Messi are so respected, because they literally from the age of about 21 until now, they've been doubled up on and they still deliver. You got. That's what separates the best. The only difference is about 6 million as well. What's 6 million to even? The only time I say there's a difference between second and fourth is if you come second and you're 1 point off the champions, but you and the champions are sort of 20 points above everybody else.
Yeah.
In terms of the quality of your team.
Agree with that. Yeah.
But in terms of the outcome for your team, in terms of what you achieve, what you receive, yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a little bit of context, but generally I knew what LB meant. So I think, yeah, a few people say no, not if you're challenging, but I think we all understood what LB meant. Sometimes we don't need to scrutinize it word for word. I agree, Terry. Palmer is people overrate Palmer. I didn't say that.
I think people.
Agree.
Listen, I'll say this year as a City fan who didn't want him to be sold, as a City fan who said it was a mistake at the time. So I'll never hold a cook in you. I'll never hold it. I'll just say nah, because I never said we should have sold him in the first place. There are City fans who said, yeah, fine, sell him. Cook them, yeah, not cook me, because I didn't want to sell him. I think, yeah, he will go on to be one of the best players in the world. I think at this moment in time, the hype is probably a bit too extreme, yeah. But for me, I think he's going to go on to be one of the best players in the world. But I think he needs a couple more seasons, like Saka. Saka's got done season after season. Salah at Liverpool, season after season after season. That's what makes these players great, is because they do it year after year after year. They don't just have a meet you year in it and just meet you. Remember meet you at Swansea? Guy was mad. Guy moved mad for a season. Everyone was like, this guy's mint. You know what I mean? And it turns out a year later he's playing in Segunda B division or whatever in Spain. Consistency, man.
Yeah, great year. Becky here says, Terry, you don't believe Grealish is better than Salah on the eye. I think it is I was using it as an example. However, I think it is not a crazy statement to say on the eye, visually, Jack Grealish looks better than Mo Salah. Who do I think the better football player is? By a country mile, Mo Salah. By a country mile. But I think I can understand why people would look at the way Grealish controls the ball, dribbles, the way he rolls the ball over his foot. Some people, how cleanly he strikes it. I think a lot of people are looking, eye test wise, Jack Grealish wins that. But again, winning the eye test is almost irrelevant in football. It's about the productivity and the consistency around it, in my humble opinion. So there we go. This year's the same convo about City every year. Do you feel it's a little different this year, LB? People talk about City not quite being as good. Do you feel it's a different conversation to normal?
I don't know, because we do have this in guys, right? We do have this conversation every year, but we have to have it every year because we go through the same thing every year. Listen, I don't know. I think for me, let's see what happens when De Bruyne gets back in the team. Let's have a look what happens when the players are back, which is basically now. If we're still playing badly after the international break, then maybe we can say, hang on a minute, maybe this is different. But we're in a bit of a unique situation here.
Oh, wow. Sorry. Howard Webber's just come out and said that the controversial West Ham penalty, which led to Ten Hag sacking, that led to his sacking. It didn't lead to his sacking. His form did, but okay. Less than 24 hours later should not have been given, according to Howard Webb. Do you know, it's just predictable. They only ever admit to the mistakes that no one's going to give a shit about. Does that make sense? Like, everyone will go, yeah, great, let's move on from it. And I knew that was coming. Look, boys, always a pleasure to speak to you all. Obviously, Deluded Good had to shoot off a little bit sooner. Potsy, thank you very much indeed. LB, good luck tonight against Man United. That's what I'm on tonight. In fact, they were actually a Man United feeder club for about 20 years as well. They were officially associated to Man United. So they're literally us. They're literally us sporting. So I hope they do you tonight. But we're live after those games. So make sure you're tuning in tonight for the match reactions. Who else is playing? Is Liverpool playing tonight? think so.
Yeah, I think they are, aren't they?
Yeah, Liverpool and
They're
City
playing
both on tonight.
Leverkusen. They're playing
Yes.
Leverkusen.
Ooh, that's a good game. So we'll be live after both of those matches, people. This video is taking you through to, it's either Mo or Hassam's channel. I don't remember. It's one of the bloody two. So make sure you get over there and check them out. Boys, thank you very much indeed. Remember to go and follow the 12th Man on YouTube and It's LB. Go follow their YouTube channels now. Go and support the boys. Very important that we do that as a community. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we will see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.